Moonies out there. This is Michelle from Heart Panorama. Today I have a co-host who is Luna TK.
Hey guys!
The reason why I have a co-host today is because I'm starting a new show with my friend Luna TK, which is called MOONIELICIOUS, and it's all about Sailor Moon. We're gonna talk about different aspects of the series, of the manga, of every aspect of the show, actually. And there's no boundaries, I guess.
This is gonna be great. I'm so excited. So we wanted to start off by just talking about how we got into the series and why this series is so important to us. Pretty much why we're doing this in the first place. And, well, first answer, because Sailor Moon is fantastic. So
it's Moonielicious.
It is. It's very Moonielicious. I love it. So, Michelle, go ahead and I don't think I've ever heard your story about how you got into Sailor Moon, so I'm very curious.
So I actually grew up watching Sailor Moon, but it was like one of all the different cartoons I watched back then. And I really didn't pay that much attention to it when I was younger. And somehow I forgot about it over the years. I think the arc I remember most from growing up is the Stars arc, actually. Because,
really?
Yeah, because in Germany we already had that arc. Like, it was normal to have these 5 seasons. And I think it came out in the late 90s already, or in the... I actually can't remember when exactly the German dub came out. But I think Stars was like the last arc that came out and that I can actively remember because I was old enough to remember stuff. And yeah, I somehow forgot about the series because, you know, growing up you think, oh, cartoons are uncool. You feel like watching live action series or live action movies and not talk about watching cartoons and stuff. And it was only in 2014 where they did reruns of the 90s anime on TV.
Oh.
And it was just a Sunday afternoon where I was bored and just flipping through the different TV channels and wondering what I should watch. I didn't even have Netflix, so that option wasn't there. And I just randomly stumbled upon one of the Sailor Moon episodes, and I was like, oh well, I could watch this. There's nothing else interesting on TV. And so I just watched this, and I felt like, oh, this is actually still interesting, even though I'm 20 years old. Like, I was 20 at the time. And then I started like with other shows when I got into it, and then I do some research on the internet and look for more contents or where to find them, or if there's anyone on the net talking about the series at all. Yeah. And that way I actually came across Sailor Moon Crystal, because that was also only starting out at the time. I think only the first 2 episodes were out by then. And then I started watching them and followed the Crystal series from that point. And from there, I got to find all the reaction videos from different YouTubers and started talking to people on Twitter. And so I met Brian, who introduced me to you and the others. And so, yeah, that's the point where we met. And
it just went all uphill from there, didn't it?
And from there, yeah, you recommended PGSM to me, like for those who don't know, that's the live action series that was filmed in 2004, I think. Was it 2004?
Yeah, it was from the earlier 2000s, yeah.
And from there I also watched that one, and I caught up on the manga, and I tried to consume as much Sailor Moon as I could. And also since early 2018, I am a part of the Sailor Moon German team, which is a project or a sort of a group who does projects for fans in Germany. Like, we go in conventions and we inform people on social media about Sailor Moon news, and we also have a magazine. So we're doing different things that have to do with Sailor Moon, and it's great that I got to join them, because now I have this constant contact with Sailor Moon, and also found amazing people who are so fun to talk to. So yeah, this single rerun episode on German TV in 2014 brought me into the community and had me engage with all the other fans.
It just was kind of a snowball effect, it seems like.
Totally.
That's pretty much how it is with Sailor Moon, honestly. So I got into Sailor Moon when I was like 6 years old, and it pretty much never stopped. It's almost like, it's literally like a drug to me. It's kind of ridiculous. I stinking love it. I came across it when I was like 6 years old, and I was like, I had a parakeet, and I was cleaning the parakeet's bird cage, and all of a sudden, like, on this TV, on Cartoon Network or whatnot, there was this show, and it was a bunch of teenage girls, and they were just kind of, like, babbling back and forth. I think it was some random filler episode, and they were just, like, joking around with each other. I think the first thing that really drew me to it was the animation, because I had never really had any sort of exposure to anime before that. So I was like, well, this is weird. Why are they having, like, little water droplets on their head? Like, what does that mean? And then, like, I sat down, and then somewhere along the lines, I became, like, obsessed. Like, at that point, it was just from the moment that I discovered it, I just instantly fell in love. And going forward, I found out when it was on TV, and it was on immediately after I got home from school. So my bus stop, you know, when I was a kid, was down the street. It was several houses down. And I got off the bus, and I would have to literally book it down the street, like backpack, like flying, just running down the street. I would run into the house, throw my backpack down on the floor, turn on TV, and the opening credits to Sailor Moon would be starting with the awesome theme song, which is really just funny because it's so different between, like, the English dub.
Oh yeah, we talked about that once. Like, you grew up with the English dub, and I grew up with the German dub. And the German dub has a totally different intro. So everyone out there who's listening, just search for German intro Sailor Moon on YouTube or something. And it's so different. It's like these 80s vibe.
I love it. I love
techno
the
music.
German
And if you're in conventions in Germany and Sailor Moon comes up and everyone is like is singing this German intro, and it feels like, yeah, everyone knows this because it's so iconic.
Yeah, it was the same way here. Like, the song here was like, fighting evil by moonlight. Yeah, like, everybody was just like, woo! It was just a great song. And, like, in the English dub, they had, like, guitar riffs, like, and they had a ton of, like, you guys went techno. We went, like, full-on, like, rock style. Like, I don't know. It was great, though. Okay, like, I personally love the original dub. I have some qualms with it, but I will always, because I grew up with it, it was very important to me. And for me, it was a totally different experience than what you went through, because Star Season was the only season we didn't have. And the thing is when Sailor Moon went off of the TV, like, at one point they discontinued Sailor Moon off of Cartoon Network, and I was pretty much devastated. And I ended up having to go online. I was like, oh, there's got to be a SailorMoon.com out there. Like, and then from there, like, I mean, Sailor Moon is huge on the internet. Huge. Like, I read somewhere, and I don't know 100% if it's true, but I wouldn't be surprised that there are more websites about Sailor Moon out there than there are of Mickey Mouse.
Oh, wow.
And I think, yeah, like, literally. And I think it's just because of, one, just how international it is, but also just because of the fact that it went off of screens here. There was no other way to access it except through online. So people uploaded video clips and, you know, pictures, and I just downloaded. I probably got so many viruses on my dad's computer. I just million downloads, just eating those downloads. Just I found a clip. Ooh, gonna download that right now. And then I eventually stumbled onto the Star Season, and I was like, I thought it was a fanfic. I was like, oh, this has got to be like some fan fiction. No, it's not. It's a season that we never got here. What is going on? And for me, it was just like every time that like I thought I knew everything about Sailor Moon, I would stumble across something more. At first, it was that, like the Star Season. Then I came across the live action, and then I was just obsessed with the live action for a while, and then I just never stopped. For a
Are you
while.
sure?
I mean, I love
Like, she was still obsessing about this when we virtually met. Lunatic is the reason why I actually watched the series from back to back.
So good.
And I actually wrote down my reactions because I wanted to write a review, but after 52 episodes, I was like, no, not happening. I'm not doing this now. But yeah,
But
if anyone is interested, I can at some point read out my notes from back then when I watched the PGSM series. So
I'm certainly interested. You're gonna have to show me that. That's great. Yeah. I don't know. I just remember, like, then college hit and I found out that they were going to do a reboot. Oh, because at one point, like, I got into the manga. Like, I found the manga. And the only way for me to get Sailor Moon stars was through the manga. And it's a very different story in the manga. But then at some point, then finally, I was at Andrew's house. This was before we were married. I saw the announcement for Sailor Moon Crystal that they were creating a new anime. And this is ridiculous. I think that was probably, if I could, maybe rank a few things, like my wedding day and, like, the day I got engaged and stuff, okay? But, like, that was, like, one of my top days of just peak happiness. I was freaking out. Like, I never in a million years expected them to come out with a new anime, and I was literally, like, screaming, running around the house. I'm pretty sure, like, my brother-in-law thought that I, like, completely just went bonkers. Like, he was probably like, she's finally snapped. She's, like, finally gone crazy. Like, and then I decided to really start becoming more a part of the online community because the online community is fantastic, and I met you, and now here I am. Yeah.
And as if we hadn't enough Sailor Moon in our lives, we're gonna do this on a regular basis now.
Oh, yes. I need more There is no such thing as having too much Sailor Moon in your life.
That's true.
No such thing. I don't know about you, but, like, for me, Sailor Moon was, like, super, super empowering to me. Like, it's Sailor Moon means, like, a whole lot to me because of just, honestly, the idea that you can be more than one type of person, and you don't have to be, like, completely graceful or, like, physically strong or completely perfect to be a hero, Like, Usagi was multiple things. She's a ridiculous, clumsy, loud goofball. Hence why I'm sure you can understand why I relate to her. Plus, she's a superhero. She goes around and she's still able to save the day every day. And she's a princess/queen. I mean, hello. Like, you can be whatever you want, man. Like, female empowerment. Do your thing. I mean, and it was all a female cast. Like, there's not really a whole lot of, at least back then, there were not really a whole lot of superhero shows out there where it was just a predominantly
that's true.
all-female team. And I think that's something that is really, really valuable and really important. And heck, when I have kids, I'm going to show them Sailor Moon. Because it's, it has tons of good quotes and a good, lessons. And yeah.
In my opinion, it's not only the show itself that encourages you to just accept yourself the way you are, but also the fact that the community is so open and welcoming to each other, like to new fans, and just in general, people are talking to each other like they're friends. They don't even know each other in real life, but they've been friends because of the series. And actually, Sailor Moon also made me realize that I don't have to be ashamed of enjoying a show that's animated because it's animated, it doesn't mean it's only for kids. And absolutely. I actually kind of got to know a new side of my best friend also, because when I started watching Sailor Moon, like, openly, or not as a kid anymore, but as an adult, and accepting the fact that I enjoy the show and it's not just a phase, then I started to talk to my best friend about it, and she actually admitted that she also likes anime and so on. And also another friend of mine, I found out that she also loves animated shows, and I realized, hold on, I don't need to keep the secret. I have friends who feel the same way as me.
Yeah.
And I can talk to them about this and we can exchange opinions and so on. So this was just a new level for me and my friends to interact with each other and enjoy things together. And I even did a movie night, or not a movie night, but I had the one friend over who is into different kinds of anime, and we binge watched Sailor Moon Crystal from episode 1 to, I don't know, I think 16 in one go. It was just fun, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did something very similar, and I had similar experience where to be honest, a lot of the closest friendships I have are because of Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
My friend Danya, to be honest, we started bonding because we found out that each other liked Sailor Moon. And then we just bonded over that. We got together, we'd watch it together, and I had multiple other friends within that friend group that also really liked Sailor Moon. So we'd also have days we got together, we'd have Sailor Moon days, and we would watch the show and have popcorn and have I think we did funny snacks like Mars bars and Skittles with the rainbow crystals and funny thing, moon pies, all things like that. We would just do that, and it was just a whole other way to bond. And even the people I've met online through the community, the people that I've met through the Sailor Moon Masquerade Ball that I went to, that still is a huge impact on my life. They're all very welcoming. They're all people that understand each other. And to be honest, in my personal opinion, I think it's because Sailor Moon installs particular morals or values in people and inspires people to be kind and accepting, because the Sailor Moon team has characters of all different kinds, and they're all close. They're all friends. We have Mercury, who's the brainiac. We have Mars, who's the spiritual, fiery person. We have Jupiter, who is a tomboy, and I could go on, but, you get the point. They're all very much different, but they're all very much have the same goal, the same values, and they're a fantastic team, and they can be very close. So all around, it's just acceptance. And I mean, a majority of the time that Sailor Moon is in battle, I mean, it's all healing. She heals her enemies. She most of the time doesn't destroy them, but a lot of the bigger, the big bads and stuff. Honestly, the stronger and stronger as she got throughout the series, it was all about, seeing the other side, reaching out to your enemy and trying to befriend them. And she always tried to do that first. That was her first and foremost, reaching out to somebody who is your enemy, essentially, and turning them into a friend. And that is something that's almost unheard of. I mean, I don't even think that that's not as common, I think. Usually it's kill the bad guy, kill him.
That's true.
I mean, she had her moon tiara magic, and but those, I feel some of the monsters that she killed were monsters. But I mean, the people that were more human, most of the time, a good chunk of them, I should say, at least, were turned good. I mean, they turned good. And they humanized them, even if they didn't. Some of the ones that didn't turn good, they were still, you saw a little more of a human side to them a lot of the times, because there was just so much filler in Sailor Moon. You just understood that they're people too. They just have misguided values.
Speaking of a lot of fillers, you are referring to the 90s anime, and as we know, there are a lot of different versions of Sailor Moon. For example, the 90s anime, the manga, which is actually the base for everything. And then the new show, Sailor Moon Crystal, PGSM, all the musicals that I haven't even seen. So of all these different versions of the story, which is your favorite?
Oh, man. My favorite? I mean, I have to say, I think it's the 90s, because that's just the basic, one I started with, right? And it has the majority of the fandom in it, honestly. It has the most amount of the story in it. But the manga is fantastic. And if you want kind of a darker side of things, a more serious, slightly more adult version, the manga is very good. And I love PGSM. It's just because it's a different version of the story that is a little bit refreshing, just because it is kind of a little different from the anime. But I also love Crystal too. But I love it all. That's the thing. I love any version of Sailor Moon from me personally, but my number one, I have to say, is the 90s. I haven't seen any of the musicals either. What about you? What is
Yeah,
your
I have the
favorite?
same problem, honestly, because earlier I was thinking about which version is my favorite, and I couldn't really decide because I was thinking of all the different fans fighting about which version is better or which version is more accurate or something. And I had that in mind while I was thinking about my favorite version. And I think I'd say both the 90s and the Crystal version are my favorites because, I mean, I love all of the versions of Sailor Moon, but first of all, I got to know the 90s anime first, even if I can't remember most of it when I was little. But I do feel nostalgic when I watch this because it brings me back to my childhood when I watched this along with other shows.
Yeah.
But in terms of the storyline, I kind of like Crystal better, which is also based on the manga, obviously, because it has a darker side, as you said, and I feel like it's targeted to an older audience also.
Yeah, it's more mature.
Yeah, I like both of them a lot, but I also love the others. But yeah, if I had to choose, I would say these two.
Yeah. All the different versions. It's always refreshing because it's not just watching like a remake, it's a reboot. It's just great because they all kind of tell the story in a different, refreshing way, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I just remembered when I watched PGSM because you recommended it. And I was like, I'm not too keen on the, I don't know, cats being plushies and so on. But it was fun watching, even if you think it's not exactly your favorite version of the story, but it's still entertaining, and it's funny to compare the different versions to each other and say, okay, this happened in this version, but it didn't happen in that one.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see that. And I love that at least in PGSM, they considered the fact that they actually look different when they're not transformed.
Yeah.
Like they have normal hair color and not just like blue. But I feel like this is the only version of all the different options that includes this aspect that you actually can't recognize someone. You can't recognize the sailors when they're not transformed because they look different.
Yeah, I also like too that they really actually kind of showed that in the transformations too. Like they would wave their hand over their hair and their hair would change. So it was kind of cool because they brought in extra aspect into the transformation. I loved Venus's transformation. Like that was a cool one.
Oh, with the ribbons? I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She flips her hair back like slow motion and it goes from like dark hair to like blonde. And it's just really like, oh, she looks so graceful. Oh, I love Venus in that one. And that's one of the things, that's the other thing I do like about PGSM, and I think why I have such a strong feeling towards that one as well, is because the characterization, the way that they handle the characters in PGSM is very real. It's very, I would dare say, more raw. It's really emotional. Mm-hmm. They really kind of dive into more of the drama side of it, which, I love my dramas. I love like watching my shows on the CW. Like I love kind of like the emotional qualities, and they really, really, really got into that, which is something that I think touched me on a different level, Like I just felt it in my soul.
Yeah, but I think other versions can do that too. Depends on which
it really does
aspect of the series.
It always gets me. It's great. Do you have any favorite characters?
Yes, definitely. I think most people who know me know that Sailor Mars is my favorite character of the whole show. Because I was like, okay, obviously Sailor Moon, but apart from Sailor Moon, it's Sailor Mars, or in her civilian form, it's Ray. And I also sort of cosplayed her once during Carnival season here. And my second favorite character is Venus, Minako.
Oh, really?
Because I feel like, I don't know, I think personally, I'm sort of a mix of both. Like I can relate to both, but mostly with Ray.
You got a little bit of a fire in you. Oh, I think my favorite, well, again, besides Usagi, although I don't know, it's sometimes a little bit even above. I love Chibi Moon. I love Chibi Moon. She's so cute. She's just like Usagi, but she has like this like real like, and it's weird because she's like a hated one in the series.
Yes.
Like a lot of people don't like her character.
But it depends on the version, right?
I think it does
depends
depend
on the different
Yeah.
different versions of Sailor Moon, and I think that's also an issue that concerns Rei because she's also different in Crystal from what she was like in the 90s.
Yes.
And I don't know, the essence is still there. She's still the same character, but in Crystal she is more calm and not so, I don't know, bitchy.
Yes. She's more fiery.
Yeah, but I like both versions.
Yes. And it's tough because Chibi Moon is not in PGSM. So in PGSM, I obviously love Usagi, but I think very different is Venus. Minako is my favorite in PGSM. So depends upon what version. But since Chibi Moon is not in there, then I have to choose Venus for PGSM. So yeah, it depends upon what version. And to be honest, sometimes it depends upon what season. Because, I mean, I think the reason I love Chibi Moon the best is because my exposure to Sailor Moon was largely season 4.
Dreams arc.
Yes, the Dreams arc. Super S.
Speaking of different arcs, which one is your favorite actually?
Well, my favorite would be the Dream arc, the Super S arc, because that was the season that I was, like I said, exposed to the most. And we get to really get a little bit more of a deeper side to Chibi Moon. And I don't know, I liked, it had a little bit of a lighter feel to it. It was a little strange because it got like a little lighter after the season before, which was like doom and gloom
Very,
and end
very
of the
dark.
world. Very dark. But there was something very playful. I love the Amazon Quartet, so that was one of my things. What is your favorite arc?
My favorite arc would also be the Dream arc, which is funny because most people like either the Infinity arc most or the Stars arc.
Yeah.
But I actually enjoyed the Dream arc most, even though I was mostly exposed to the Stars arc as a kid, I think. But what I especially enjoyed in the Dream arc was that we get a lot of Uzamamo.
Oh, yes, that too.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's like all the characters are established, we got all the Senshi finally, and they're interacting with each other like they've known each other for ages. And, you know, this part where they interact as civilian people, also the outer Senshi, I think this part is only just established in the 4th season, and we got all the characters, we got the part with Usagi and Mamoru, and yeah, everyone's there. And I think the reason why I don't like Stars that much in the 90s anime is because Mamoru is like non-existent.
He's not there.
I think for me, he's an important part of the team and also of the cast. So I don't know, I don't connect that much with the Stars arc as I do with the previous seasons.
See, for me, the Stars arc, I still love it, and it's like
Because
like
it's new to you.
Yeah, it's
just
because
it's you didn't know it.
It's just because it was like the hidden gem that I didn't know existed, and I was like, ooh, there's more, and it does get dark.
I think that's the main reason why you enjoy it more than I.
It really is. It's because I was like obsessed over it like middle school because I was like, oh, I found more things from the Stars arc. It was like going on a treasure hunt, finding things from the stars. And it's one of those things where it's like, when you can't have it, you want it more. So like, when I found out that they were redubbing the whole anime, the whole original anime, and I found out that they were doing Stars, again, I was freaking out. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, we never got this in English. We never got access to this. There was no legal access to the Stars arc here in the US. So, and we're getting so close to finally having that here. I don't even know when that's supposed to be released.
I was about to ask, when is it coming out?
I think it's coming out soon. They're finishing up the Dream arc. So that means that there's going to be the Stars arc, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
At least you'll have something to look forward to while we're all waiting for the Dream arc and Crystal.
Yes. Yeah, I know. It's been 2 years at least. It's been
more than 2 years.
It's going over 2 years since we've had anything else with Sailor Moon Crystal. Like, it's getting kind of ridiculous. It's driving me crazy, especially because now, as we have established, the Dream arc is my favorite. And when I found out that they were redoing the series based upon the manga, I was freaking out because that was what I like. The Dream arc is the arc that is the least favorite for most people, probably because it's largely Chibiusa based. And not only that, but like it was kind of like, I think, a stark difference between the season before that, which is pretty much almost everybody else's favorite, the Infinity arc, where it got dark and deep and stuff. So like going from that to like not having the outers in that season and not getting quite as much into like the deep side of things. But the manga does do that. It does dive into a darker, slightly more mature, but yet it's still the Dream arc. So like, it's totally different. That is the season that is the most drastically different from the anime. And so when I found out that they were doing a reboot and that they were going to be doing, at least from what it seemed like, all of the episodes, like the whole series all over again. So like, that was the season where I was like, oh my gosh, yes, people are finally going to be able to understand the greatness that is the Dream arc, and it's finally going to get justice, and like, Nehelania is like awesome, and like the villains there are just so good, and I'm so frustrated that we have no new information at all. Like, by
the way, now that you mentioned Nehelania, I was thinking there were a few episodes in the Stars arc, or at least in the 90s anime that was containing the Stars arc, which had a little arc containing Nehelania coming back and so on. And I was wondering if you even had access to that when you were growing up, or...
Nope.
Not
None
even
of
that
it.
little part. Oh, wow.
Nope,
okay.
Not even that little part. I came across fan dubs for that. And I watched the fan dubs, and that's how I knew that part existed. But
because
like, that's it.
This is kind of a roundup of the fourth season. Like, it's connected to the fourth season and it's kind of bringing the whole story to a proper end.
Yeah,
And
we never really
somehow,
got like.
If you don't watch this, somehow it's missing.
Yeah, like, and the other thing is too is in the manga, the Amazoness Quartet turns into Senshi. Like, they become Senshi. And Chibiusa gets her own team. And, like, they essentially elaborate on the fact that they are and always were Senshi, but they got turned evil, and, like, that they were, like, Senshi of, like, the asteroids, which was the coolest thing ever. So they completely left out that extremely important and very valuable bit of information. They could, like... They kind of almost, like, hinted at it at the end of season 4, where, like, it seemed like they're like, oh, yeah, like, we'll be back. Like, we'll see them again someday. And, like, almost maybe they were originally thinking about bringing them back, but then they never did.
Yes.
What is that? What? Makes me so mad. But, yeah, like, I'm really, really hoping, and, like, I'm just speculating, and this is nothing I even know, but, like, I'm gonna guess that since we don't have any information yet, if we do not have information about the movies, like the 2 movies that they're coming out for the Dream arc by June, I'm gonna be real sad. I'm gonna be so sad, because it seems like they always tend to release information about Sailor Moon Crystal like on Usagi/Shibuya's birthday in June. They tend to have like the live events.
That's true.
And it's been 3 years, like it's been over 3 years since anything, like
2 years,
barely any news. It's been like, it's been 2 years since we've had
2016.
Was
17,
it?
18. I think season 3 ended in 2016.
Yes,
like in summer.
I think you're right.
And then we got no news in 2017, 18, and now it's 19.
Yeah.
Almost 3 years now.
There wasn't even this big of a break between season 2 and season 3, was there? There wasn't. I don't know why it's... that drives me crazy. Maybe it's just because they're really, really trying to up the ante on the animation. I'm just going to look at it that way because, I mean, they're doing 2 movies, and I'm just going to be the optimist and say, because this was the season that got the least amount of love, that maybe they're just trying to give it extra love and extra really good animation, and that's why they're making them into movies.
Actually, the part I'm worrying most about is that how are we going to access the movies? Because for a series, you know, they could simulcast it and upload it to their website and make it accessible in different, not in different languages, but with different language subtitles. But with a whole movie, I don't think this is going to happen. So we could either hope that any legal streaming platform in our countries gets the license to stream it, or we're going to have to wait.
I know. And that's the only thing that I have an issue with. Plus, like, it's going to be short because, well, there's just going to be a movie. It's not going to be a bunch of episodes, so I'm not going to be able to experience that excitement for quite as long. So I am not going to lie. I wish that they just continued on and just did episodes. Like, I don't know why they switched it to a movie. I'm kind of a little disappointed by that, but I'm just going to take what I can get at this point because I need it. Like, it's not even a question at this point. I need it. But I'm really hoping that we get anything sometime soon. It's just,
I think at this rate, I'm already going to be happy about a promotional image and nothing else.
Just something, like some sort of promotional, like
the head of Pegasus or something.
Like, something, please. Like, I mean, it took them a while to get together the stuff for the first season and stuff, and then they finally released that gorgeous promo image, and finally we had something all to freak out about and at least look at and have proof that they're working on it. But it's been completely, like, all lips have been sealed. It's been completely tight-lipped. Nobody has said anything about any of it. So we have no proof that they're working on it, which is kind of upsetting. And like just anything, I'm even be happy if like a promotional image, but I'd even go as skimpy as to say like, tell me who the director, like, do we even know who's directing it? Do we have any of the people who are like producing it? Like, I don't even know.
Me neither.
See, like, I don't even know. Like, if there is, I'm going to have to research that because I feel like it's just been that long since we've had news that even if they did tell you of anything, I'd be happy with just getting some sort of information on who's even working on it. Because do we even have any of that? I don't even think we do. And we would hope that the same voice actors would be returning, but we don't even have confirmation of that. And you would think that would be easy to confirm, like whether or not the same actors are going to be coming back. Like, literally nothing. I don't know. I'm hoping we get something soon. That's why I follow a million things on Twitter and Facebook and all social media. So hopefully get some sort of nugget of news someday.
As you said, the hope is still that they're going to release something by June. Because usually they always release stuff by June. So I really hope, and I'm crossing fingers that this is going to happen this year. That at least we get the confirmation or information about anything, and who knows, maybe a promotional image or even a trailer.
Even something. My optimist, because Toei is weird, and they always like don't tell you anything, and then all of a sudden like boom, trailer, like random.
Yeah, music video.
Like,
album, single, theme song.
Just like they won't come up with anything. They won't say anything, and all of a sudden just poof, something. So hopefully that'll be cool. But I'm just gonna say that my optimism would be that for Usagi's birthday in June, will talk about the movie, will give us information on the movie, will tell us that they're working on it, maybe give us, information, promotional image, something. And then I'm going to I hope that the movies will be out by the end of the year, if not 2020. There's no way it can go further than that. Like, there's no way.
Yeah,
unless they're saving it.
To be honest, I don't think it's going to happen in 2019. I feel like it's going to take not a lot more time, but a bit more time than until the end of this year.
Yeah, that's why I'm leaning towards 2020. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but I have a feeling like if it's going to happen anytime soon, I'm going to hope, and I think it would be cool if they released those movies in 2020. Hashtag Sailor Moon 2020. Let's do it. Let's make it a thing.
We've been worrying about getting new content, and since we want to end every episode of our Moonielicious podcasts with a quote, we found something that actually fits now that we wrap it up. It's from a screenshot from the 90s anime that I found, and to be honest, I don't know which episode this is, but as soon as I find out, I'm gonna link it below or give the information in the description below. But it's a screenshot with Sailor Moon, or Usagi, because she's not transformed yet, and she says, "Girls worry a lot because we're complicated." And I feel like this actually wraps up this episode, because
absolutely.
We've been worrying about what people think about us watching Sailor Moon. We've been worrying about, I don't know, when we get new content. Or we've been worrying about the fights between fans who say this version is better than the other. So, yeah. No, though this shouldn't mean that boys don't worry as well, but I feel like this quote kind of wraps up our episode today.
I think absolutely, especially since this has been a project that we've been working on together, and heck, we've been worried about starting our Moonielicious or it never starting, because we've been planning this forever. So it definitely wraps it up pretty well, I have to say. There's a good Sailor Moon quote out there for almost every kind of situation that you're in. Including a Sailor Moon quote at the end of each episode here is something that we'd like to do going forward. So if you guys have a special or favorite Sailor Moon quote that you'd like us to include in a future episode, feel free to let us know what that is down in the comments. Let us know what episode it's from and who's saying it, and we'd love to be able to include it.
And if you have any other suggestions, for example, if there's a certain aspect or topic that concerns Sailor Moon that you want us to talk about, then let us know also in the comments. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please give us a like. And if you want to stay up to date, you can follow my account and LunaTK's account, because the bloopers to each episode are going to be on her channel. Until next time, this is Michelle from Hot Panorama.
And I'm LunaTK. And we hope you found this podcast Moonielicious.
Talk to you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.